Welcome to the Superhero Sidekick Leadership Coaching Podcast with Joel Smith and Joe Baker. We're here to help you develop your superpowers. This is the Superhero Sidekick Coaching Podcast. I'm Joel Smith.
I'm Joe Baker. We're not here to be the superhero. We just want to be your sidekick and help you along in building your business, building your not-for-profit. Let's help you grow it fast and really scale.
Be sure to check us out on Facebook and visit us at superherosidekick.com. This is the Superhero Sidekick Coaching Podcast. My name is Joel Smith. Joe Baker, my partner, is not with us today, but sitting in for him is Dr. Greg Gilbaugh. Greg, how you doing today?
It's a great day. Thanks for letting me be part of the show today.
Oh yeah, you're starting to become part of the woodwork with us.
There we
now,
go.
So,
there we go.
This is great. Well, hey, I always enjoy hanging out with you, Greg, and we always have some great discussions. And we've got a really good topic today that I know you and I are both excited about. And but before we get into that, I would like for you listeners out there to go ahead and think about subscribing to our podcast and go out to our webpage, superherosidekick.com. You can also go to joelsmithcoach.com. And Greg, what's your can you tell them what your website is?
Yeah, they can go to drgreggilbaugh.com, kind of like drgreggilbaugh.com, and that'll bring you guys to the speaking website.
All right, Greg. So today I want to talk about this was something that came to me this morning when I was running on a track, and it just kind of reminded me of something that Jim Rohn talked about. Jim Rohn is one of the great leaders and speakers. He was kind of a guru on network marketing and just kind of one of my heroes. I love reading his books, but he wrote something. He said, if you want to go further than your job, you need to work harder on yourself than you do your job. And that's pretty interesting because I don't think people really think about that. And then I thought about it a little bit further, and I've heard Zig Ziglar talk about this as well as Jim Rohn, but there's this whole idea, and I've heard this put into a formula. So I want to talk about that. And the formula is be times do equals have. So be times do equals have. And here's how that looks. Here's what that means. It means if you want to have something that you've never had, you need to do something you've never done. Okay? If you want to have something you've never had, you need to do something you've never done. And then the second part of that is if you want to do something you've never done, you need to be someone you've never been. It's pretty interesting. What do you think, Greg?
No, I think that is really, really spot on a number of ways, because really the job is an expression of who we are. And our expressions can take a lot of different forms and shapes and those sorts of things. But yeah, we've got to change in order for the job to change, the challenge to change, the mission to change, those sorts of things. So we need to grow in order for the entrepreneurial vision and its expression to grow. This is great. This is great.
I agree with that. And when you think about this formula here, this this equation, be times do equals have. And it's interesting to me because I think most people, when they think of an equation, they look at it as do equals have. Mm-hmm. Whatever you do, then you're going to get paid for that. And so when you think of, employees, jobs, if you have a job, you're really trading your time for money. So what you do equals the money that you get. And that's really all the further that the equation really goes for a lot of people's lives. And I've been there too. I think we all start out there before we grow and learn more to it. But really what this says is what you do equals what you have. However, sometimes we get disillusioned on how much we really can do because we're missing out on the be part. We're not really thinking about what we can become. We're just really focusing on what we have to do, which is sometimes people do as little as they have to instead of as much as they can. Wouldn't you say?
Yes. When we look at what are some of the resources that we have to have in order for our uh, business, organization, whatever it is, to grow. I mean, we need some financial cap, we need financial resources, we need equipment, probably tech, we need labor, we need people, but also then ourselves as the leader, as the one who is trying to lead this organization. What we bring to the organization is very critical. And again, this goes back to, I want to make sure that one thing that we do understand is that this can either be viewed as like very arrogant and very self-centered, where everything is all about me, or I think a very proper way is that I'm responsible and I do bring something that is of value and is really integral to the growth and the health and the stability of this organization. And for it to continue in a nice, steady, growing, fruitful way, I've got to continue to bring something of value to that. So as I grow, it gives an opportunity for the organization to grow as well. So it's more of a responsibility than some arrogancy where we sit back in our chair and say, I've arrived and I'll let everyone else do the work.
Yeah, right. And Greg, this this equation B times do equals have, this can be a little bit deceptive too. And I guess maybe we could rewrite this a little bit as well. We could look at this several different ways without really changing the equation. When you say have, we could mean have money or have stuff or have a big retirement plan or have fame or have notoriety or whatever. But we could also change that to have impact or to have an effect on other people or to have a legacy. We could really change that to anything, wouldn't you say?
The results. It's like, what are the results that you're trying to get? I mean, why'd you form the organization, the business, the group, whatever in the first place? Because there are some really tangible results that you're looking for: impact, influence, change, service. That comes through the tangible things like, yes, we'll take funds, time, money, resources in order to get this accomplished. But yeah, those are things that we are to be responsible for. And just to have more of those have things, we just have to become more responsible. We have to change. We have to get better, and we have to grow so that we can be more responsible with those things that we have and can have an impact on them.
That's right. I like that. So, the word have in this equation, it could realistically be selfish or unselfish, whatever it is you want to have.
Yes,
you could. So it could apply to the greedy guy that wants to get rich, and it does apply to that. Or it could apply to the Mother Teresa's of the world that want to have a great impact.
Yes.
And it's the same thing, and just to put this in a practical way, like, let's say if, for those of you out there that may not understand what the equation really means, so we'll maybe Greg and I can give you some examples of this, but if you want to be able to lift 500 pounds, right? If lifting 500 pounds is what you want to, have the ability to do, then you have to be able to do that action. If you want to do that action, then you have to become a person that can actually lift 500 pounds. You have to become that, because you can't just do it because you choose to do it, right?
That's
or
right.
if you want to save people's lives through surgery, you have to do the surgeries. If you want to do the surgeries, you have to be a doctor. You have to become someone that has that knowledge. So yeah. And of course that applies to you as well, Greg. I mean, you know how to drill teeth, you know how to fix teeth. And so you have a practice that does that, and you can do that, but you weren't born a dentist. You had to become that.
Yeah. And even after you become a dentist, there are things like, how do you grow the practice? It's like, okay, you've either got to get much better at what you're doing, you've got to change, or you've got to be able to do more types of procedures. You've got to change, either deepen your skills, broaden your skills, or add more skills. Otherwise, you become the bottleneck or the roadblock to the growth and the effectiveness of your business or your organization.
Yeah,
So
that's true.
again, it's like, I do like, if we want to do something that we've never done, we've got to become someone that we've never been. We've got to change in order for the company to change. And maybe I should interchange some of those words. If you want your business to grow and be more impactful, then you have to grow and become more impactful.
So you
It's not
can
gonna
do the
happen.
things that impact your business.
That's
Yeah.
right. That's
Yeah.
right. So
Yeah. It really is.
that's a great little mathematical, practical life equation. So
You,
true.
Greg, you were talking earlier about responsibility, and I got to thinking, that really is the core. That's the core essence to the B part of this equation, because I think this is how a lot of people think. A lot of people think, in order for me to have, something greater in my business, a better job or a promotion or whatever, I need to do whatever it is I need to do. And in order for me to be able to do that, somebody else needs to step in and make that possible for me. Somebody else needs to give me an opportunity. Somebody else needs to promote me. Somebody else needs to offer me a different job somewhere else, whatever it might be. It relies on somebody else. But here, what we're talking about is this relies on us. It's our personal responsibility. It's not the responsibility of everybody around us to make it happen for us.
Yes. Yes. And it's something that what we find ourselves, our capacity to be responsible is different today than it was 5, 10, 15, 20 years ago, because we've changed. And you can't expect someone who's like 20, 25, 30 years younger than us to all of a sudden have that same level of responsibility, even to say, I really, 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 really want it. It's like, yes, but it's going to take 20 to 25 years of growth in being responsible for what you have and stewarding it well and nurturing it and watching it grow so that you can now take on even a little bit more of responsibility, even a bit more responsibility, so that it grows steadily and it's not an unstable foundation that crashes and burns at the first stiff wind, trial, downturn in the economy, whatever.
Yeah. I like that. So taking what you just said, it sounds like responsibility can be like a snowball, can have the snowball effect. Yep. As it's tough at the beginning, it's small, but once you get going and you learn to become responsible, and you become more responsible in more areas of your life, you're able to take on more responsibility. And I think it really can grow exponentially as you go. It's like a snowball. Once it starts rolling and rolling, it grows much faster down the road than it does at the very beginning. And so, yeah, I like that. But, it's easy to get stuck in life. For about 5 years in my life, I was stuck, and I was like a snowball that was just sitting still, and I wasn't going anywhere. And so for me, it was like, I could do this and have this if, and then I always filled in the blank with other people. If I were just given a shot by these people or those people, but I wasn't growing. I wasn't doing anything on my own. And then, I came to Christ, and everything changed. And through that, I realized that I have a personal responsibility, and I have choices I can make every single day that can help me grow so that I can have a better ability to do things. And so I think it comes down to choice in a lot of ways, don't you think, Greg?
Absolutely. Choices have consequences, and really good, solid choices have a much better opportunity to produce something that's good than foolish, stupid choices. Having those making wise choices over and over and over again over time, with experience, with wisdom, with growth, having a character shaped and changed impacting others. Others want to join that organization. Others that are in the organization are affected, impacted by it. They know what needs to be done. They're growing in that. You've got now not only a leader that is enjoying what they're doing, people around them have a much better opportunity to enjoy and then be productive in whatever the outcome or the results that you're searching for. That is a healthy organization that can grow with great stability and just continue on and be fruitful.
Right, right. So we've talked about responsibility. We've talked about that we need to take the initiative to become someone who can do. So let's get into the nitty gritty here a little bit. So we talk about that, but listeners might be thinking, okay, great, but how do I do that? And in what parts of my life does that even apply? So Greg, give us an idea maybe of one area of life. Maybe we'll discuss a few of them. One area of life that this might apply to, and then how would you move forward to becoming better in that area of your life?
Well, one of the things that, I think if like one area of life, okay, I have 9 kids. Some people say, how do you parent a family of 9 kids? It's like, well, usually people get them one at a time. And so you start to grow. It's like, okay, can I take care of one? And then when you feel like, I think I got it, now I get another. And it's like, this one's totally different. Okay. But you're able to change, grow, be able to learn, so that those that you're being responsible for can have an opportunity to thrive and grow and be nourished and those sorts of things. And then it's one after the other. I'm not the same person I was when I first had my firstborn. The same thing is true with my business. When I started off bought a small practice with 4 employees, I was a terrible leader, had no idea what I was doing. Much different now when I've got about 40. It's just totally different. And it happened over the course of 35 years, not overnight. So one area is time and experience, be patient and grow with it. One of the others that we talked about earlier today, Joel, about, distinctive abilities. That is one of the things that I'm really starting to lock into that I see as very valuable in that, we as people, we've been made with distinction. A lot of people are familiar with the verse, Psalm 139, I am fearfully and wonderfully made. And the word wonderfully literally means distinction. We were made with distinction. People you hear a lot of it, look, you were made for a purpose. You were made with distinction in order to be able to fulfill a purpose. You were made, it's like, without trying to diminish things, we are like a tool that was made for a specific job. Sure. You don't dig a hole with a saw, and right. And you don't try to cut lumber with a sledgehammer. We were made a specific way to accomplish specific things. And when we understand that, I think then when we see the expression of that within, let's say, the context of a job, of a career, of a company, of an entrepreneurial expression, that all of a sudden starts to resonate, because I really feel that and believe that when we are operating out of the way that we were designed, we find not only greater effectiveness, but I think we find a greater sense of fulfillment.
Yeah, I agree. So skill is definitely one of those things. And when you think about it, there's, pretty much every job requires a skill. It requires us to get really good at something, whether it's, working on teeth or working on pizzas, like, many of my people do, or whatever it is. If you're a construction worker or an accountant or a CEO of a company, there's skills that we have to get good at. And so if we want to become something great, we have to really sharpen our skills really, really well. And that takes a lot of practice and dedication and time, for sure. I think about knowledge too. Just the more we know about whatever we're doing in our jobs, or the more we know about marriage, or the more we know about raising children or leadership or whatever it is going to is going to make us become something more, so that our actions, or what we do, will be better actions and will have a better impact. And so, yeah, so knowledge and skills and ability, leadership, relational sharpness, becoming someone that can really do relationships well. We all know a lot of people that are really good at relationally. They seem to be very attractive to other people. People like them. So, and it doesn't come by mistake. These are people that genuinely have a great interest in other people's needs. They are people that are caring and loving, and they're supportive. There's a lot of these skills that go along with being somebody that's great at relationships. What would you say are some more of those skills, Greg?
Absolutely. I remember an example that was given to me years ago that I loved. It's like, how do you find like what you're, like what that passion or your giftedness or like your bent is. And the example was, suppose that you had a gathering in your home, and let's say my wife was going to come out with some refreshments, and so she's got she comes out with a tray, and it's got like these really expensive goblets, and they're filled with just water, and or let's say a beverage, that's special, and she's coming out and she wants to honor these people, and she comes out and she trips and falls, and it all goes on the carpet, it's broken and things like that. How do people respond? And it's like, I remember when my wife first heard this example, she goes, well, of course you would get up and help. Of course you would get it. Wouldn't everyone want to get up and clean up? And it's like, well, there are some people who go, you know what, that was expensive. And they have a bent towards generosity. And their first reaction is like, I'm going to write a check. And not only for the price of what was broken, but I bet you this person feels a little bit sad. So I'm going to add some, an extra zero to this for, emotional comfort. Their first thing. Some people are immediately towards like, I don't care about the mess. The person, how are they doing? Relationally strong. I want to give them comfort and encouragement and things like that. There are people who are bent on teaching, and they go, you know what? This brings up a good point on how we can move forward as a group. And that's their first response, because that is how they are bent. And when you see that, not only in yourself, it's like, man, I know. For me, I'm a teacher. I would leave the mess and I would just say, what do we learn here? How can we improve? Where are we going to get better? And let's tie in all sorts of stuff towards that. While my wife is like, I'm here picking it up, cleaning it up, get me rags, carpet cleaner, things, and that's her sweet. But knowing that, I don't diminish the helper, servers, encourager, generosity people,
Yep.
Knowing that they're there. But I also know, like, this is where I can bring the most value to the situation.
Yeah, I like that.
And I feel comfortable doing it, and I bring my best stuff.
And we can get better at that. We can, when we're talking about be times do equals have. And if we want to have great relationships, we have to do generous things. We have to do instructional things. We have to do empathetic things and compassionate things. And we have to do effective things. We have to do all of these things that have to do with different areas of life. And we have to be people that can do that. And so sharpening those skills, even relational skills like you're talking about, like sharpening the skills that you really do have in relationships, but then also ironing off the rough spots on maybe areas that we're not so good at relationally, at least, or at least not putting ourselves in those positions.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Going back, I think you said something that was really, really good, Joel. And you say, like, look, we do need to pursue some knowledge. We need to grow in our understanding of the facts of the matter, to continue to improve in our understanding so that we can all of a sudden develop that into what are the concepts of this wisdom or the concepts of this information? And then how do I actually then move that into wisdom so I can practically apply it to the issues of the day, the people, and benefit them? You know what? Stupidity and ignorance are not giftedness that we should pursue. Right. Our understanding can't, if it's like, I don't want to grow in this, I think I've already arrived. Well, if that's where you have arrived and it's not a connecting flight to a better place, well, then that's where you stay.
Right. Yeah.
So
I like that, stupidity and ignorance. It's not a giftedness. In fact, it's the lack of developing your giftedness when that happens. If we stay, because we're born ignorant, we don't know anything. But the idea is that we continue to grow through life, and from first grade to second grade to seventh grade, and graduation and college, if you go to college. And so and every step of the way, we need to remove a little bit more ignorance, a little bit more stupidity, and gain a little bit more wisdom.
Many times ignorance is, it's not that you're stupid. It's just, I just don't know.
Right.
It's like, so how do you find out?
Yep. And sometimes we don't know. Sometimes we don't know because somebody taught us the wrong thing. So what we do know is just wrong. So we don't know the right thing. Sometimes we don't know because we just don't seek it, because there's just no fire to seek the right thing. So we just assume the wrong thing and keep living it over and over and over. And sometimes we ignore wise people that are trying to help us see some wise things, and we choose to not learn that, and we choose to stay ignorant. So what we're really saying too is that when we say yes to becoming something greater, we need to say no to staying stuck.
That's right.
Yeah,
that's right. There are when we're stuck, and it's like, I know that I don't want to stay here, but I don't know exactly how to get out. I think a good question for us to think about is like, okay, who can help me get out of this? And what can I learn from them? Because it's not like, you just get me out of the hole and send me on my way. Because when we're asking like, who can help me with this? It's like, you've got something that that you can bring and help me think, understand, and then become wise in this, so that the two or three of us can go on together for a while. Or it's like, you've given me some resources as to now the how and the what about how to get out of the hole or how to get unstuck.
I like that. If we go back to the equation here, B times do equals have. So if we want to have some kind of an impact or some kind of result down the road, we need to do what leads to that. And if we don't know how to do that, we need to talk to somebody that does. There's somebody that already has that result or has already done the things that they need to do. And so we need to become like them. I heard somebody say, if you want to be a millionaire, do what the millionaires do. Right.
Makes sense.
And it's interesting.
There are times when I've, talked, coached, counseled, met with guys over the years. And sometimes if they're like, I just feel like I'm in a rut, Greg, whether it's parent, it's like, one of the questions I'll ask is just say, who are you listening to? It's like, well, what do you mean? It's like, what are you reading? What are you listening to? Who are the people? Because it's like, really, you're allowing these people to speak something into your life. There are times, like for myself, I do like listening to, let's say, conversation on the radio, podcast, talk radio, those kind of things, as opposed to listening to music. But there are times when I feel like, you know what? I've been letting this particular show, podcast, whatever it is, it's been entertaining, but I've been letting them speak into my life a little too much. And I'm seeing some things that I don't like. And so they've been having an influence. So it's like, I got to take a break. We do allow people to speak into our lives, and maybe we don't realize that we've given them that permission by choosing their channel, their podcast, their book, whatever. So who's speaking into your life?
Right.
Someone is, and we do again get to choose who's speaking into our lives.
Right. And we do need to surround ourselves by more than one person, like you were talking about. If you just like the main influence of your life, just be one source. That's not always enough. Even if it's just the Bible, reading the Bible every day is great, and that's good. But you still need more than that. You need discipleship with people. You need people coming in. If you are learning about your industry and you just look at one person, well, there's a lot of different ways to look at your industry too. So you need to get a balance of that as well.
That's right. It's totally agree. I think one of my favorite genres to read is I love business and leadership book. What I've done for so many years is though I do read the scriptures and do get my theology straight. So it's my filter. A lot of these other books are like the applications of these principles and truths, how to serve, how to grow, how to lead, just practical examples, knowing what the filter is for me. So it's like, as the old Southern adage is, you just know when to, eat the chicken and spit out the bone. This is good, this is not, but this is good. And so as a result, it's like, you get many people reading, speaking in your life, because it's like, that's an application of this principle that I had not thought of, that speaks really, really profoundly to where I'm at, got me unstuck or carried me down the field a little bit farther.
Yeah. All right. Well, hey, Greg, we got a few minutes left. Let's just throw out a few, maybe we'll go back and forth, throw out just a few practical suggestions of what we could start doing today that can help us become what we'd like to become, to do what we need to do, to have what we'd like to have. So I'll just throw out one real quick, and I'll just say, become an avid reader. Read leadership books, read books on excellence, read books that are going to help you become whatever it is that you'd like to become. So
one that I would go back on and say, make an active list of who you're listening to right now and what value are they bringing. Is it entertainment? Is it good? You might look at it and just kind of go, yeah, probably shouldn't be listening to that as much as I am. And it's like, and then ask what's missing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's right. That's good. I like that. I would say also find out what you're lacking. And a lot of times you can find out a little bit about what you're lacking by asking yourself that question. But I think you can really find out what you're lacking by asking other people. I think if you ask other people, maybe that you work with, or maybe it's your boss, or maybe it's your employees, or maybe it's your wife, but you're asking, hey, what's an area that you think I could really grow in, that I'm just, maybe I have a blind spot. I don't even realize that I'm struggling in this area.
Yeah, I agree. There are times when it's like the old saying, how can a fish describe water, when that's the world, that's where they live in. I do think that there are times when, if we have a distinctive ability, a natural expression of how we're made, we do it so often and so naturally that we don't understand how impactful or useful it is. And along the lines of what you said, Joel, is ask people that you work with. I mean, just out of real humility, just say, look, I'm trying to, you could say, I've been given an assignment by someone. What do you see in me is a distinctive ability that you see that I bring to the project, the business, the group, that you see is an expression that I do real easily. It's very effective. And ask about 5 to 8 people that, and get the feedback and see if there's something like, I'm seeing a pattern here. Because once you see it, it's like, you know what? I really want a lot. That's right. That is me. And if it is me and it's how I'm the most effective, then maybe I can say, what if I brought more of that to the tasks at hand? What are the possibilities?
Yeah,
what are the possibilities?
Yep. I would say another thing would be spend some time in meditation. If you're a person of faith, this would look like prayer. If you're not a person of faith, this would look like meditation, but it's thinking time. It's being able to reflect on what's most important. For me, during prayer, things sort themselves out so much easier when I incorporate a God into my thinking process, into my communication. And so, God can do some pretty incredible things, but we've got to touch base with him. We've got to, he speaks to us through scriptures, and we speak to him through prayer. And so I think that's probably the most important, because really, if we're here to please God, we need to tap into that. We need to tap into the Holy Spirit and really make that our number one priority. And I think that's going to lead to growth, whether you like it or not.
Yeah, to be able to understand ourselves a little bit better. I think there's value in some of the personality skill assessments, DISC, Colby, Strength Finders, those sorts of things, to take a couple of those. Small financial investment, but I think you get some good feedback. It's like, do you see something that might be starting to come to the surface. I think for those who are of the Christian faith, it's like, what is your spiritual giftedness? And there are spiritual gift inventories. And it's like, again, to be able to knock down this false barrier between the sacred and the secular, the church and the marketplace is like, look, if you understand your spiritual giftedness, yes, it is to be expressed within a community of Christians, but that giftedness is given to you. It's a spiritual enablement, and that also can show up in your place of business, serving, helping, leading, teaching, encouraging, generosity. Those things have very practical expressions and value in the business that you have. So bring the whole package to your enterprise.
Excellent. Well, hey, Greg, I think that's a great place to end. So, boy, this has been good. So we've been talking about B times do equals have. So please give us some comments and what you think about this. If there's anything that Greg or myself has talked about that you'd like for us to maybe elaborate on in a future podcast, that'd be great. But like us on Facebook and subscribe. So, hey, thanks everybody. And we will see you next time.